I work for a company I will not disclose. We held a sleep experiment recently in which 6 volunteers had to stay awake for at least 2 weeks. You may have heard of the Russian sleep experiment and similar stories, but the experiment logs you're about to read are different and legitimate. We had built a full house inside our experiment HQ to cater for the volunteers. They each had a private room and other things in the house with a kitchen, lounge and games room. Each of the participants had to also work, which was basic office work such as writing reports and such. The participants would also do basic chores and overall live normally. They'd be provided with food and other necessities. The house was rigged up with hidden cameras and microphones that would monitor the participants throughout the experiment, and also a PA system for announcements. We also had hidden entry and exit points to and from the house in case of an emergency. The participants also had to get special chip implants on the back of their necks that would allow us to monitor their brainwaves. The task was simple: stay awake for a 2-week period and let us monitor you. We also injected special stimulant gases into the house and the participants' food to help them stay awake for a bit longer. Here are the experiment logs. Participants. Names have been changed. Connor, age 25, male. Samantha, age 29, female. Adam, age 23, male. Ethan, age 26, male. Julia, age 25, female. Sophia, age 24, female. Scientists. Names have been changed. Dr. Aaron Chaudhary, coordinator. Dr. David Hardnickel, night shift. Dr. Mia Williams, night shift. Dr. Elisa Nguyen. Experimental log starts here. Original copy. Day 1. All participants are mentally stable and appear happy. Brainwaves and heart rate are normal. Participants explore their living quarters and have started to form bonds. Participants are enthusiastic and have done their chores and work. They seem wary of the hidden cameras around the house, and when they are alone in their rooms, a bit uneasy. This is a normal response, and they will hopefully get accustomed to the surveillance. Day 2. All participants appear tired after not sleeping at night. Connor and Ethan both requested Panadol to treat their headaches, and they were more irritable and angry today. The other participants seem a bit tired, but are able to complete tasks and even play table tennis in the games room. The participants seem to have grown accustomed to the surveillance and have normal heart rates. Brainwave readings are beta waves for most participants and even gamma waves for Ethan. This shows that participants are still conscious and awake after no sleep for one night. Day 2 night. At night, Ethan and Connor both nearly fall asleep. We had to send electric shocks through their bracelets to keep them awake. They complied and stayed awake. We have increased the amount of stimulant gases in the air, and other participants stayed up by looking through social media on our monitored Wi-Fi connection. And Julia and Sophia relentlessly played chess games. Julia's brainwaves lowered to alpha waves, which are usually recorded when a person is just drifting off to sleep. Surprisingly, she was able to win a few chess games against Sophia, who was experiencing beta brainwaves. Resting heart waves of all participants are lower than usual. Day 3. All participants are awake due to our stimulant gas, but are acting abnormal. Connor nearly cut his fingers off today. He was not aware of what he was doing. Dr. Warnick decided not to interfere as it would mess with the experimental process. Ethan helped Connor put on a band-aid, but Connor was also fatigued, and so he wasn't able to put on the band-aid correctly. We are taking note of Connor's injury to make sure it doesn't worsen. Julia and Sophia started screaming at each other in the games room after a minor dispute over ping pong rules. Julia scratched Sophia's hand while Sophia pulled on her hair. The fight ended quickly as Connor stepped in. Samantha has been keeping to herself from the start of the experiment and only goes out of her room to get food or work. She has opposite effects to most of the participants and has remained sane. We are re-watching her recording to see how she manages that. Adam has also been antisocial from the beginning of the experiments and has started talking to himself in his room. He always keeps on referring to a dark figure in the corner as he talks to someone in the room. We have checked all cameras in the room and there is no dark figure in the corner or someone in the room. Dr. Williams believes that it is a coping mechanism to cope with sleep deprivation. Day 3, night. Ethan smashed all the plates in the house till Julia and Sophia stopped him. He suffered some minor cuts on his hands in the process. During the time, his brainwaves mimicked those of a sleeping person during REM sleep. Connor is showing signs of paranoia. He is consistently whispering to himself. We had to use the sensitive microphones embedded in his shirt to listen to him. Here is what Dr. Chowdhury was able to transcribe. Everyone is going to kill me. I have to stay awake. They are not with me. Why am I awake? They're going to kill me. I have to get out. But where? They're going to kill me. Why am I awake? Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Connor broke down after that and started hysterically laughing. He then started speaking again. Dr. Chowdhury did not disclose what he said after listening to the recording. He went home. Important note. Dr. Chowdhury has reassigned his role in the experiment and now Dr. Williams is the relieving coordinator. Samantha remains stable, but her brainwaves are now those of a person who is in light sleep. She is coping the best out of all participants. Julia and Sophia are both against each other and are avoiding each other even though they were best friends before the experiment. Adam has been repeating the phrase, "No sleep, dark figure," repeatedly since the evening. He is showing no signs of stopping and is continuously staring at the corner where the presumed dark figure stands. I'll post more logs soon. Make sure you sleep tonight. Right. My little bunyips, that is all from Mr. Villyn today. Liking the video and subscribing to the channel helps tell YouTube that you're liking my content and want to see more of it. Clicking the notification bell will keep you up to date with my videos and notify you whenever I upload. You can also dislike the video if you want, but doing that might be hazardous to your health. I'm going to start off by answering this one question that everyone had about the experiment. Question: I've stayed awake for X amount of days. I don't go crazy like that. Answer: keep in mind that you may not be on stimulant gas when you stay awake for your own work. The stimulant gas actually prevents the pineal glands from producing any melatonin. So the participants do not feel the need to sleep and the brain is not aware if it should sleep or not. That's the main aim of this experiment, to find out how long the brain is capable of going without sleep. So usually if there was no stimulant involved, the participants would be fine for longer as their brain would shift to a phenomenon known as microsleep. In this case, the participant's mind does not even know whether it should sleep or not. Another reason for the worse effects are probably due to the fact that we forced our participants to also complete day-to-day tasks and also cook their own food. This puts extra pressure on the brain. They are also not provided coffee or energy drinks. Many of the participants were noted to use their electronics more after day 2 night, which might also contribute to the effects. Now let's continue with the logs. Day 4. Dr. Warnick has noted that all participants are no longer accidentally dozing off into sleep, and they all remain awake at all times. This is probably an effect of the stimulant gas. Julia has been painting in her room since the morning. She is drawing paintings of a woman with bloodied hair and several wounds in her abdomen. The woman's face is never painted in each of the paintings. Surprisingly, the paintings are very high quality and well painted. She drew about 10 paintings in 4 hours. She stopped after she ran out of paint and canvas. We'll deliver more canvas and paint to her room through the food larder type cupboard we put in her room. Dr. Nguyen suspects that Julia may be thinking about harming Sophia, as illustrated in the paintings. Dr. William disagrees. Adam has moved from his bed to the corner in his room where the presumed dark figure is. He is standing facing the corner and has been standing motionless since morning. His brainwaves are those of a person in REM sleep. His heart rate is concerningly low at 50 BPM. Connor has stopped whispering to himself and went down to make breakfast in the morning. He fried his eggs in milk and ate them. Our medical team will be monitoring him in case he falls ill. Connor has typed up unintelligible things in his office work today. Sleep is for the weak. I am not weak, for I do not sleep. I will rise strong. I am winning all along. Ethan is going to beat me. No, he won't. Please, I want to sleep. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Dr. Williams speculates that Connor is experiencing auditory hallucinations and is subconsciously typing the conversations up. This can be useful to provide insight into his feelings. Connor seems to be paranoid of Ethan. Sophia is standing outside Julia's bedroom staring at the door. She has not tried opening the door. Ethan broke his laptop after losing an online game. He threw it at the floor. We are deciding whether we should provide him a new one. After that, Ethan went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife and started cutting up pieces of butter and eating them raw. He will also be medically monitored. Samantha is reading the books we have provided her. She's been doing that since the morning. After finishing one of the books, she repeated the phrase, "I will sleep soon," 420 times, and then picked out another book. She is the most stable of all participants. Day 4, night. Julia went out of her room while Sophia was still standing outside the door. We only knew that Sophia attacked Julia as only Dr. Williams was on the night shift at the time. She refused to recount what happened and was quite hysterical. Dr. Warnick sent Williams home for a few days. Based on the camera feeds we can currently see, traces of Julia's intestines can be seen in Sophia's room while the rest of her body lies in her room. Her eyes are missing. Sophia has returned to her room and is sitting there staring at the wall. Sophia has returned to her room and is sitting there staring at the wall. She has painted random shapes with Julia's blood on that wall. We locked away Julia's room and extracted her body. Dr. Warnick, the relieving coordinator, decided to keep the experiment running. Dr. Warnick advised us not to look through the past recordings to see what really happened with Julia. We have also not yet listened to Connor's recordings. Adam went out of his room for the longest time today and walked around the house chanting things. He returned to his room after being unable to access Sophia's room since she locked it. Upon closer inspection of Julia's paintings, which we have now extracted from her room, they are looking more and more like her own dead body. Connor sliced 20 cuts across his chest today. Ethan grabbed the knife from him and cut himself as well. They then laughed hysterically and started playing ping pong in the games room. Day 5. Dr. Chardhari was found unexpectedly dead in his home today. The cause of death appears to be a suicide, bringing the death toll of this experiment to 2. Dr. Williams is now on suicide watch, and all of us have to live inside Experiment HQ for the remainder of the experiment. Dr. Warnick has called in another doctor who did not tell us his name. He appears to be from the higher government and has taken our video logs and audio logs of Connor for further study. Luckily I saved myself copies before they came. Today Samantha ran out of books. We purposely did not bring any more to her to see her reaction. She experienced severe psychosis. She started screaming at us. Why don't you guys just leave me alone? Do you find this amusing? I want to sleep. I can't sleep. She then repeated this 20 times while putting up her hair. She then managed to compose herself and went down to the games room. She asked Ethan if he could play ping pong with her when she saw Connor and him playing. Ethan agreed and she won every game against him. This made Ethan extremely agitated and he started to show signs of physical aggression. Samantha quickly ran up to her room. Ethan ran after her and kept on trying to break her door down for at least 5 hours. Samantha was crying hysterically in her room. I will go get some sleep now. More logs are coming. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with sleep. Shakespeare. I've noticed that some of you are concerned about the ethics of the experiment in my past post. The thing is, this experiment has received heaps of funding from the government in order to research further into the unknown science of sleep. Every volunteer in this experiment has agreed to all this, so no legal implications apply to us. Anyways, I have transcribed some more logs. I'm starting from day 10 because the rest of the days, nothing happens. Every day was the same. Day 10. Today was rather calm compared to yesterday. All participants stayed in their rooms. Ethan has taken a ping pong ball and racket to his room. He played against the wall for 6 hours. Surprisingly, he returned most of the shots. We provided Samantha with more books today. We need her to stay sane so we could study how exactly her brain copes. She immediately went and picked up the books as soon as she heard them drop into her cupboard and thanked us 153 times. She then started reading the books. Connor spent his whole day in the office room today, typing up a document. It is transcribed here. What is sleep? Why can't I sleep? How do you sleep? Please tell me. Connor can sleep. He sleeps every day, yet I remain awake. Adam says he's trying to find sleep. He told me sleep sits in his corner. We are unsure whether Connor is referring to the presumed dark figure in Adam's room. Sophia was extremely calm and composed today. She scrolled through social media on her phone and even listened to some music. It looks like killing Julia has calmed her down. Adam has started spreading salt around the whole house. He is also chanting things. Dr. Nguyen realized that he was chanting in Latin. We tried to translate it as best as we could. Sleep is running away from me. Away from the thing that sits in my corner. Sleep come back. Sleep come back. Death is coming. Sleep and death, both the same. He chanted this over 100 times while spreading salt around the house. He was unable to enter Sophia's room because she locked her door. He called out to her and she opened the door. He went inside her room and spread the salt. Sophia did not stop him. He did the same with Connor's room. Ethan did not allow him inside his room. Adam lingered around Ethan's room for a few minutes and kept on calling his name. Ethan then came out and punched him straight in the stomach. Adam fell backwards from the force. Ethan went back to his room. Adam stayed in the position and stared at Ethan's door for 5 hours. He then got up and also went to Samantha's room, where he spread salt. All participants did not eat or drink today. Our medical team will be monitoring their health. Day 10, night. At night, all the participants started screaming at literally the top of their voices at exactly 12 AM. They changed the pitches around and it almost sounded like a rough violin piece. Then suddenly we saw Ethan struggling in his room. He was lying down in his bed and it looked like an invisible person was choking him. He was clutching at his throat. We soon realized he was actually choking himself. We didn't interfere because it's physically impossible to choke yourself to death with your own hands. We stared for an eternity until Ethan finally released his hold on his neck and fell still. We checked his pulse. None. Our medical team extracted him immediately. We were able to resuscitate him. He lies unconscious in intensive care for now. We are planning to interview him when he feels well. Dr. Nguyen has also been sent home due to shock from the experiment. Day 11. Adam seems extremely uneasy today. He keeps on looking up at the hidden cameras. It seems like he knows exactly where the cameras are, even though they have been well hidden. He stares directly at them. Samantha has stopped reading. She went down to make herself breakfast today. She took the whole salt bottle and poured all the salt down her throat. Our medical team is standing by for any symptoms of poisoning. She then went into Sophia's room and stared at her from the doorway for at least 10 minutes. Sophia stared back. Sophia then threw her phone at Samantha. The phone hit her nose really hard and we suspected it's broken. She bled but continued staring at Sophia. Sophia then started screaming. Samantha continued staring. Sophia started to scratch at her eyes. We shocked Sophia in hopes she would stop and to prevent lasting damage to her eyesight. Samantha stared straight at the camera and let out a long, high-pitched scream. She went down to the kitchen and started to cut her nose off. We gave her high-voltage shocks, but she didn't stop and cut her nose off. She then put her mutilated nose in her mouth and ate it. Dr. Williams has resigned. I'm the only one left. Dr. Warnick. The end is near. I can feel it. Day 12. Samantha is showing signs of remorse at her previous action and has bandaged what remains of her nose. Her blood oxygen levels consistently fluctuated throughout the day. Sophia and Connor exited their rooms at the exact time and both walked to the game room. They played a game of pool without communicating at all. Halfway through the game, Sophia used the pool stick to extract her left eye. She used it to play pool. Connor copied her. They then both started laughing hysterically. Adam went downstairs as well and filled up a Coke bottle with water. He then started splashing that water at all the walls in the house. He chanted the following in Latin. Ethan. Ethan thinks he's safe. Sleep is out to get him. It is death. It is death that I gave. Warnick. Warnick knows the end. He tends to us. He sends to us. One day the barriers of the house will bend. Dr. Nguyen has returned to take over for me. Dr. Warnick. I need a break before I get burned at stake. I'm going to take a break now. I'll post the remaining logs soon. Many of you guys wish to hear the voice recording from Connor that Dr. Chowdhury heard just before he committed suicide. I looked about from the recovered data and eventually found it. I will transcribe it here. Aaron Chowdhury, Dr. Warnick, Elisa Nguyen, Mia Williams. What does it spell out? Adam. Everything is pre-planned. Death is coming. Het den si Rima. It is unknown whether the spelling out thing is just a coincidence. The names have been changed, but the first letters remain unchanged, so even the original first names would make out Adam. A particularly interesting point in the recording is the last line, Het den si Rima. It does not translate to any language. I haven't been able to figure out what it means. Day 12, night. Logs may be incomplete due to circumstances. Ethan was interviewed today. He was still quite unstable and appeared quite frightened. He didn't answer any of our questions and kept saying, "Everything is pre-planned. Death is coming. Het den sin Rena." He kept on telling us to run away, to evacuate the facility. He told us that Adam was not human. Dr. Nguyen believes that this is a symptom of psychosis and also stress due to not sleeping for 10 days. He is expected to make a full recovery after some restoring sleep. We have sedated him so he can remain calm and rest. This log may be quite long because a lot of interesting and noteworthy occurrences took place tonight. Sophia and Connor are showing no remorse at what they did to their eyes yesterday. They went back to their rooms after laughing for 1.5 hours non-stop. Our cleaning crew then locked out the games room and went to clean the mess. Immediately, Connor and Sophia came out of their rooms. They ran downstairs like athletes, and Connor grabbed oil, while Sophia grabbed matchsticks. They set fire to the locked door connecting the games room to the living room. Adam was seen chanting up in his room. We were too focused on what was happening to record his chants. The door burned away in seconds, and time slowed. Our cleaning crew froze in shock and stared at the door slowly burning away for what seemed like years. Then the screaming started. Sophia and Connor attacked the cleaning crew with animal strength. They ripped them open. Visca spilled on the floor and the screams continued. We tried to send an announcement through the PA system to tell them to stop. Connor and Sophia didn't even acknowledge it. Samantha came down from her room to join, but she wasn't easily accepted. They were on a rampage, biting and ripping apart anything that moved. They even bit and scratched each other a few times. Their eyes were filled with a bloodlust I would never forget. They weren't human. This was something much more sinister. Something that has always existed in our minds. Only sleep can keep it at bay. Who are we to mess with natural cycles? Of course we didn't evolve to sleep for nothing. The answer lies here. This is what happens. Day 13. We sealed all exit points to the house. We didn't bother to clean up the mess in the games room. We called the higher-ups straight away. They instructed us to stay put until they arrived. We are only 1 day away from the end of the experiment. We have decided to wait it out and finish the experiment properly, or all this would be for nothing. Connor and Sophia have been standing outside Adam's room for all of last night. None of the participants have eaten anything. The remaining participants are just Adam, Connor, and Sophia. Dr. Warnock, me, and Dr. Nguyen are the remaining researchers. Dr. Williams has resigned. Since last night's ordeal, Adam has been non-stop chanting in his room, and Connor and Sophia have been absolutely motionless, standing at Adam's door. Their faces are devoid of any emotions. Their eyes are blank. Their clothes are tattered and red from blood. Their skin is riddled with various wounds and cuts. They are barely alive, but barely dead. We have been monitoring their brainwaves. They are barely present. They exhibit very low brain activity. Their heart rates are also very low. Medically speaking, they should be dead. Ethan has been begging us to let him out. He told us Adam visited him tonight. He told him that he was going to kill everyone, including him. He told him he should have obeyed. We have checked the security tapes for our own sake, and Ethan was definitely hallucinating. We had shifted him to our computer rooms, so he can be further away from this experiment house. We believe this may alleviate his symptoms and stress a little. Normally we wouldn't let anyone in there, but he isn't even stable enough to look through our records, or cause any problem. Day 13, night. Written by Dr. Warnock. They are planning something. Adam came to me today. He told me this. Het den Sirena. I don't know what it means, and I don't want to know. I want to live. I want to be alive to sleep another night. Sleep is a gift. This next part was written by Dr. Nguyen as Dr. Warnock took a break. Connor and Sophia have gone inside Adam's room. They are drawing all sorts of symbols on the walls. I've never seen those symbols ever before. They have filled the whole room. They aren't writing with ordinary pens either. They are writing with their own blood. Our medical team is amazed at how they are still not unconscious after bleeding so much. Our participants have not eaten or drank anything since 3 days ago. Most of the house is a mess. Only another 24 hours until we end the experiment. We are planning to release a sedative gas into the house and sedate them. We will then medically induce them into a coma for a few days, and hopefully they will wake up. We have taken science too far. I will post the final logs tomorrow. Does anyone know what this means? Het den Sirena. And that is all for today's video, my little bunyips. Liking, disliking, sharing, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell is completely up to you. I hope you all sleep well tonight. Have sweet dreams. Good night. I noticed that many of you guys were confused about Samantha's death in the last part. The logs didn't explicitly state it, probably because of the panic the scientists were in during the time they were typing the logs. So I'll be clear, Samantha was killed by Connor and Sophia. Here are the final logs. Day 14, the final day. Day 14 of May. Near is the end, when the walls of the house will bend. This is what we heard Adam chanting in Latin as the clock hit 12 AM. Another 24 hours and we would be done with this hellish experiment. Our results will greatly benefit science and the study of sleep. As soon as Adam said that, Connor and Sophia moved away from the door and walked down to the kitchen. They started staring at the hidden exit point we had designed inside the living room. We were tired from staying up all night last night and heavily shaken. We immediately checked if the exit point was locked. It's like they could now perceive beyond their 5 senses. They knew more than us where everything was. Ethan has been extremely uneasy today. Moving him to the computer room did not make a difference. He is begging to be let out of the facility so he can go home. He is telling us that they were going to break out and that we should leave the facility as well. We are intending on keeping him here for his own safety and for the experiment's safety. The participants are roaming around in the living room like zombies. Adam is chanting incomprehensible things in his room. They are all rather calm. It's like they are planning something. Day 14. Log submitted around 8 PM. We are now slowly ending the experiment. We are releasing the sedative gas. As the participants are sedated, we will wear protective suits and take them out of the experiment house. They will be medically induced into a coma, and they will hopefully recover. We are planning to offer them lots of compensation for the damage caused to them throughout this experiment. Connor and Sophia appear to have sensed the sedative gas. They are crouching down and retreating to the corners of the room to stop themselves from inhaling it. It doesn't matter though. The gas will reach them in a few minutes. Adam has come down from his room and has his eyes closed and is chanting something. The gas has filled the whole room, but they are still conscious. We are increasing the intensity and amount of gas. They are still conscious. We can't sedate them. Connor and Sophia have started walking to the kitchen. Connor grabbed oil and Sophia grabbed matches. The gas is extremely flammable. Logs were cut off. This log was recovered from Dr. Warnick's phone. The whole experiment house is burning. We have tried to activate the fire systems, but the fire isn't getting put out. The automatic fire response system has opened and unlocked every exit, hidden or not, in the facility. Connor and Sophia have escaped. Our small water sprinklers cannot stop the fire. The sedative gas is feeding the fire, making it larger and larger. The end is near. That's what Adam said. I can't find Dr. Nguyen anywhere. She said she went to manually lock all the doors inside the house so the participants don't run out. I hope most of our crew evacuated. The fire is now moving past the experimental house. I can see it in the cameras all around the facility. I'm currently sitting in the control room. I just heard a few screams through the fire. I saw Connor walking through the hallway of the facility. He is covered in blood. His clothes are burnt and he has several bad burns. He's still walking. Adam is walking towards my room. Is he levitating? Please save me. He is here. He is opening the door. Log ends. No one survived that night. Everyone that was in the facility at the time all died. The fire eventually consumed the whole building. Since the building was in a remote location, it took hours for firefighters to arrive. The experiment was a devastating failure. Connor, Sophia, and Adam were not found inside the facility building. They were found somewhere in the woods. Their bodies were positioned in such a way that they looked exactly identical to the last weird sign Adam had drawn on the wall of his room. They were all confirmed dead. Their autopsies revealed that the cause of death was cardiac arrest. They all had brain shrinking of about 40%. Their cortex was still active even after death. We could still see very faint brainwaves. They only had half the blood that they had in their bodies before. In place of their eyes, another growth was noted. It is apparent that the extreme heat of the fire, the severe injuries of their bodies, and the loss of blood was what eventually killed them. Their minds were more than fit enough to continue going, but their physical body couldn't take it. Several abnormal growths were recorded on their bodies, including a hand-like growth developing under the back. It is apparent that the hand growth, once fully developed, would rip out of their back and sever another limb. In place of their eyes, another eye-like growth had appeared. Next to their heart, a second heart-like organ was developing. We can only speculate what would have happened if they were kept healthy and the experiment had kept running for longer. Dr. Warnick was probably the last person to die. His autopsy showed signs of physical abuse. He had multiple broken bones and fractures. His cause of death appears to be a skull fracture. Dr. Nguyen has not yet been found. So you may be wondering how I came into this and how I have these logs. It's because I'm actually closely related to this experiment. It's because I am Ethan. And that is all for today's video, my little bunyips. Liking, disliking, sharing, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell is completely up to you. I hope you all sleep well tonight. Have sweet dreams. Good night.